Amid speculation about whether Dr. Christine Blasey Ford will attend Monday's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, an endless discussion of the political tactics at play, it's important to remember the human being at the center of it all, a woman who tried desperately, from what we can tell, to avoid the exact situation she now finds herself in. A woman who now finds herself subjected to intense national scrutiny, intimidation, and, as she put it, annihilation, all because she says she was sexually assaulted. In a letter to Senator Chuck Grassley, her lawyer wrote, quote, "She has been the target of vicious harassment and even death threats. As a result of these kinds of threats, her family was forced to relocate out of her home. Her email has been hacked and she has been impersonated online." But her attorney's letter also mentioned that Dr. Blasey Ford has received messages of support. One such message, an open letter from the 1984 alumni of Holton Arms, Blasey Ford's alma mater, on behalf of their friend and classmate. Those women wrote, quote, "We stand with our friend Dr. Christine Blasey Ford and admire her honesty and resolve on behalf of our nation." Here with me now, one of the alumni who signed that letter, Samantha Gary. Ms. Gary, describe your relationship to Dr. Blasey Ford.
Chrissy and I met in 7th grade. We've known each other for 40 years. We were friends, and for the 6 years we were at Holton Arms, and we've stayed in touch loosely since then. Our class is a pretty tight class, and we've stayed in communication for, 35 years now.
It strikes me that it's a pretty tight-knit school. It's a small school, and people are pretty connected. Is that a fair characterization?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you can see that in the response that the school has had on a number of levels in the last few days.
What was your reaction when she came forward this weekend and put her name to this accusation that has sort of been floating out there anonymously?
Well, I'm not sure she did put her name to it. I think that it got leaked, and then she had to respond in order for it not to kind of completely spin out of her hands. She didn't ask to be in the situation she is in now. She asked for confidential. So we were all obviously shocked that it was somebody that we know and respect.
Reading the account that she provided, both in the letter and in the interview she conducted with the Washington Post, as someone who moved in the social circles that she did, who was friends with her in high school, how did it strike you?
Well, it struck me as true. It struck me as someone who had to make a really painful decision to essentially, at this point, forfeit her privacy and have to relive a traumatic event in a very public and traumatic way.
Did you know either Brett Kavanaugh or Mark Judge when you were in high school at Holton Arms?
They were acquaintances of mine. They were good friends of good friends of mine, so you know how those circles kind of go out. But I don't have any specific recall of either of them, and I'm not able to comment on them specifically from that time.
But in terms of the social networks you were embedded in, they were around at the periphery. It's not implausible that they would be at a party together or something like that.
Oh no, they were definitely at parties together. I think that, and I say that because in talking with a lot of my classmates, our sense is that between the summers that they were involved in a variety of different country club activities and sports, and just the general Venn diagram overlap of our schools and our dances and events and festivals and things. There was just quite a bit of overlap. And then people have to remember that these are classes of just like 65 people. We're not talking about thousands of people. So you really knew each other. You really did get to know each other.
Have you spoken to your classmate Christine recently?
I have not spoken to her directly. She has been communicating with me and several other people through one of her best friends, who's a good friend of ours.
Do you have a sense of how she's doing?
She's a strong woman, and she has a strong foundation with her family and her friends, and she's tremendously grateful for the support that she's gotten from from everyone. And I think that's important to her so that she doesn't feel that she's just hanging out to dry here by herself.
I guess as someone that has known her for as long as you have, there are people out there who think that she is either making this up, she's either fabricating it, or she is misremembering what happened. Both of those things have been said by folks. And I would like you to say, what would you like to say to those people?
Well, I think they should be ashamed of themselves. To suggest that someone who's been sexually assaulted isn't remembering this correctly is just makes my head explode. I think it makes a lot of women feel that way. Sexual trauma is real and deep and lifelong. It's something that Chrissy has spent her life trying to forget. This isn't a mistake of identity or experience. And we need to stop suggesting that women who come forward with these experiences and tell their truth are somehow mistaken.
As someone who went to school with her and thinking about children, there are folks in that school right now, and many of the alumni who are not from that year have signed a letter of support as well. What kind of message do you think it sends? What do you think the folks that are moving in the social circles you did as a teenager at Georgetown Prep and Holton Arms are going to learn about how they should conduct themselves based on what the Congress does?
Well, that's an interesting question, really. I think that to the extent that we still look to our public leaders for any kind of guidance, what Congress does now is going to register in the debate about how these things are handled in our country, how women coming forward with these types of experiences are treated, and whether they can be dismissed out of hand or whether they are going to be taken seriously. And I think I stand with my classmates and my schoolmates and say, we expect to be taken seriously. We have to be taken seriously, and we will find a way to be taken seriously.
Samantha Gary, thank you very, very much for making the time this evening.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.